Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Now we're recording. Wrong window. No, just continue. It's fine.
Okay. And here at mentors part, we have.
Yeah, maybe we should mention that I updated the design a little bit and sent it to the guys who are doing the UI components.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll make sure to update the overall wireframes today.
Here we have the mentors, and here at timeline we have some items, and at the left sidebar, at the right sidebar, we have some skills. One of calendars I find is React Big Calendar. It's so popular, almost the most popular one. And here is the calendar. It has some features. We can, for example, drag and drop. Here we have some add-ons to it. And we can extend. But I didn't find everything we are looking for in this calendar. So the calendar that Zaki sent to me, which is React Calendar Timeline, I find it the best one, the most suitable one for what we are looking for at this project. And here is some sample for it. We have a left bar, and we can add right bar, and we can add the tasks. But one of the problems is I didn't find any calendar that is week-based component. All of them are days and hours based components.
Yeah, I mean, there in the big calendar you did have like a week view, but it was just like completely wrong in
we
the
have
way it's
just
laid out.
the weeks.
Yeah.
And if we look for Amsterdam example, they create their own calendar, which is weeks-based component. So I redesigned this component to look like similar to this and to have all features. For example, this one didn't have the drag and drop and didn't have this nice zoom in and zoom out. So by styling this one, I get finally this one. We have all features with both, and I added some tracers here on Sundays. These dashed lines are at Sundays. We can also drag and drop these items at this calendar, and the state will directly update it. This red line is for today, and here we have.
Quick question: when you drag and drop, it looks like it's putting it on any day. I think we could probably make a rule so it'll skip to Sundays, right?
I will search for this. I didn't find up to now something to make it go directly for Sunday, but we can maybe find some way. And we can also, for some components, we can extend them or make them smaller.
Wow.
And here I did a small example to add a mentor. Here we have the skills also. So we have the two columns on right and left. For example, if I want to add to Kim, here I can choose the mentor, and I can write any status, and here I can write the start date. I can write them here or choose from drop-down list. For example, if I want to give him a task, start from 6 Sunday and end at 20. If I click add, it will be added. That it is. For students, here is the code. I will comment this and uncomment this. This is the students page. We have here, like the project, like the example we have here. For students, we should have the courses that they are studying currently and when they start and end. So here we have the classes and the what they are studying, the items here. For sure we can drag and drop and the state will update it directly. And that it is. We can zoom in and zoom out for sure. We can put some limits for what is the maximum zoom in and what is the maximum zoom out, where we want this view port start and what is the maximum end. And these dashed lines are for Sundays. And that it is.
Amazing.
Excellent work.
The thing I find with this component is we can manipulate it extremely. We can control everything in this calendar. We can change a lot of things. It has a very big document on GitHub, so we can make it so suitable to our project.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Any questions?
It looks better than I was hoping to see. I mean, I just like spent like 5-10 minutes playing around with this, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of it, but I'm not sure. But I definitely
the most suitable one. I looked for a lot of others.
Yeah.
It's the best one. We can also add 2 tasks in the same day, as you can see here.
Yeah, so based on
there's a lot of features in it.
Based on what I see here, I feel pretty comfortable committing to using this in the project.
Absolutely.
You all agree?
Mm-hmm. But have you saved all data into your database, or?
Currently, I have here some items. We have groups. This is JSON variable.
Yeah.
And here the items. We can bring them from database later.
Okay, but that's perfect. I wasn't expecting to see anything persistent in a database for this. It's more about like making a quick prototype, getting as far as possible with the thing that you're researching, and then not spending too much time on the other stuff. But it looks really good.
Are you storing the data in the state when you're rendering it?
Yeah, in the state.
Then it shouldn't be too hard to add.
Any chance that
I'm importing these groups and items,
right?
Then I'm storing them in the state, and when I add new item, I'm setting the state for the new.
Then it shouldn't be too hard to do what's it called when a component did update and then do an AJAX call to the server and add it to the server. Shouldn't be too hard.
And it's good to see that you use moment.
This calendar is depending on moment. We can disable and enable drag and drop for some features. For example, we can make this one just moving here on class 9, not moving to another class. There's a lot of features in this component.
Do you think you could, just hypothetically, if you had like some sort of status for when you're logged in, only like students couldn't drag and drop, but let's say
we can disable drag and drop.
That's definitely
depending on rules.
We can do it phase 2 or something like that.
Actually, I think we need to have like a lot of the authentication logic and authorization logic up and running pretty early on in this project, because
here
it's such a big part of the project, really like distinguishing between admin and but actually this view here, right, that view that I'm talking about there is the view for assigning mentor to classes, and nobody but admins would ever get to that view anyway. That would be need to be locked down. But we might be using the same component to show, I think we will be using the same component to show stuff to students as well, but then in that instance of the calendar we'll probably just have those features disabled. So I think we'll be all good there.
So that is the basic idea of using components. You know, we don't want to repeat ourselves.
We can enable and disable move, drag and drop,
and those are the things we need to control actually based on the authentication.
That's great. Cool. Let's continue on, because we're going to take a lot of time to see presentations today. So, who wants to do the next one? We just continue around the clock.
What should I
do? So don't disconnect yet. You connect, and as soon as he is connected, you disconnect.
When he connects, I will be disconnected.
And make sure that you have the microphone disabled. Actually, also turn off your loudspeakers, just to be 100% sure.
No, it's not open.
Huh?
the microphone and
Yeah,
speaker is
yeah.
not working. But how can I
Your speaker
join?
somewhere here.
Classics. And then join this call.
Just mute it. Yeah, it's working.
Yes, and then when he joins.
100% privacy. I see that. He would be very good friend with the right. He bought an iPhone, like we checked to use the fingerprints.
Oh, and
Thing.
they use it.
So he said like if Pierre has him, they need to at least torture him to get a passport.
So I have you share
So
like
if you disable your screen
the,
share
the,
now.
the repo for this one?
I didn't upload it yet. I will upload
But do
it.
do you have the repo? No, not the.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's the
It
same
would be
as
nice.
everybody.
I'm impressed. I would like to see what the.
So we will be using this.
I think that the good practice is always use Git. Just if you just go to the washroom, just commit your code first, because this is your work.
Yeah, sure.
So just make everything your comfort.
I was busy with testing it and customize it.
Yeah, I don't like neither. You know, if I'm not happy with the final result, to share it so people. Oh, that's wrong, man.
Cool. That's what we push for it. It's ready.
Yeah, of course, you're that kind of guy.
The task is it's about use our application to send a message to Slack or to a special web org and a special channel. Daniel help us and send us NPM, but it's about to making an application like React in our application. It's not useful so much.
What do you mean? Like a Slack in React, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And what it's not what we need.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking in Slack. They talk about if you want to send a message, you can make a webhook, incoming webhook.
Mhm.
But I tried to make it, but it's need a lot of configuration, and I'm get confused
Okay.
with the documentation.
That's about if you're sending a message from Slack to your application.
From our application to Slack.
Yeah. Okay.
Also didn't work,
Mhm.
or there's a lot of documentation, and you should do this, and configuration is we cannot make it. Rahman helped me and sent me videos talking about Slackbot.
Mhm.
We use Slackbot; it's better.
From Slack, we can send message. We use some API.
Hmm.
So, but I cannot manage it using the React. I use only Node.js. I can manage it using only
Okay.
Node.js. But I cannot manage it in React.
But I don't really. Yeah. Okay. So I honestly I don't know the difference between doing it with a Slack bot and using an API for this because I haven't researched it much. But apparently those are two different things.
I think
Yeah, but it sounds like Slackbot is something you're talking with some bot. Is that the main?
Right.
Yeah, so that I think we don't want, isn't it? We need this API part where we can interact. Like students put some messages, mentors would like to answer those questions. I think
But I know the stuff that we use Slack bots for at work is, for instance, to have a Heroku post on Slack whenever we do a deployment and stuff like that. And I imagine the stuff that I imagine we're going to do here is also the same kind of thing. Send notifications via Slack. So whenever there's a class on Sundays at 12, send a notification at 10 a.m. to make sure that the student gets out of bed or something like that. And then if you're a student who can't get up in the morning, you can choose to subscribe to that channel, or maybe if you're all right getting up at 10, then you can choose not to. So that's the kind of stuff that I imagine. I think that sounds very Slackbot-like.
Okay,
But
that makes sense. Yeah.
But then there was another thing I wanted to research where it was like the other way around, where you can type a command on Slack and then have that command do something within our application. And I don't know if those two things are different things, but
in this NPM library, we can do it. And send a message from our application to Slack and respond to message from Slack in the application. It's worked, and I post the messages before in the channel.
You need to change at the future.
See, this was last night.
Yeah.
But when I push the project to the GitHub, I forget to remove something. It's called token. It's about authentication and authorization. And at the morning or at night yesterday, I received an email from Slack. You put something important. We block it. You should try or make another one. But I didn't have a time to do it.
That was what Joe was talking about last week.
Yeah. I forget to remove from the code before pushing.
Yeah.
But
Do you understand?
I'm happy. I was happy to. It's worked, and I pushed it to.
Okay, so did you fix it now, or
No, I didn't have a time.
But do you understand how to fix it?
Yeah. They sent me steps to how to fix it and regenerate another token and use it to make token.
Yeah, sure.
If you remember last time I talked about the environmental files, you use that so you wouldn't have to worry about it.
They talk about variable.
Environment variable.
Yeah.
That's it.
In
Webhook.
And webhook.
And if we use webhook to send a message to Slack, we should talk or we should use this variable environment or environment variable. But it's different from. It's depending on operating system. If you use Mac, you should.
Yeah, how you set the environment variable.
That's the different things. But the idea is it's the environment variables. Where you just instead of sending your critical information publicly.
But
but if you use something like .env, then it's the same on Mac or PC or Linux or whatever.
I can show you the break how to do it if you want.
Okay. But I find this way it's easier. You don't, or the other users, it's not need to make another steps to do it in their system.
But let's just focus on the Slack part right now. Do you have something you can demo? Can you show us that you can send a message?
No.
Or is it broken at the moment? Can you just replace it?
From you, we can use from.
Okay, so maybe
I
also
think it's broken. The token is broken.
No, for Notice again.
Okay.
But I would imagine it's pretty quick to change the token.
Did you get any code?
I removed also from GitHub. I removed from the code and pushed again.
Okay. Yeah.
And they disabled this token,
Yeah.
even if one finds it's disabled.
Did you make a new token?
No. I didn't have a time to make it.
Okay.
Yesterday night I received this email.
But if you think it works on your computer, should we give it a shot? Yeah. So join the call so we can see what you're doing.
Go to Slack and Class06.
In the code regarding
And then you should
And now
time you make a query.
Instead of MySQL, but create connection with MySQL, create input, and then you can use it exactly like the thing is here, it makes a connection. You know when you see MySQL, like MySQL pack. Here you don't, because it'll create one. It'll only close it when it doesn't need to make it, and then you can share the same connection between.
And also now it's a static message, not dynamic.
Sure.
But in the future you can make it as a text.
I was not really expecting you to build any UI for this. It's just like have a server where you can start it up and it sends a message or something like that. We need to, when we do build these demos, try always to keep it like really low key, so you focus all the effort on the stuff that we are researching, and don't build out like a huge stack that can do everything.
Yeah,
This is just like a waste of time in terms of like going.
We just
going
want
more.
to reach that point. We can send a message from our
Exactly,
app to
yeah.
Slack and maybe in later make our future or updating
Okay, so did you just send a message now?
Yeah.
Excellent. So what's going on here?
And if I send message to, so then Slack would give the response to hi back.
Okay.
I mean, like we ask that. I mean, if we send message, then username it will show username hi Rahman.
Yeah.
So we use for Slack would some API to respond this message.
Cool.
Say hi back.
And this is just integrated to a Slack bot, but not to a Node.js application of yours, or how is that working?
Yeah, Slack bot is normally integrated with the Slack bot.
Yeah.
And we generalize the channel for general channel. And if you use for select for random channel, then it will sending the message to the random.
And from the code, you can decide what channel you want to post or send a message. And if one on this channel respond in any message, you can check this message and make some logic for this. If I receive this message, do this. If I
Can you show us the code?
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit of how it's implemented.
So it's one within index.js.
At the first, it's token and the name. It will be shown in the channel. The name who is post. Start a handler. It's to make emoji. Send it also. The function put post message to channel. You can decide or choose the channel and what's the message you should or you want to send it. Under an error handling, if there's something error, you can see.
And we can use in down here is if we want to use some API, then they will give some specific message. It's like
and also it's maybe combined with other API. Magic noise.
Then you need a C. C-A-Q-C-K.
C.
Yeah, check the code. I guess those functions are mapped somewhere else.
It should be a space between check, place, notice.
Oh, so that's one of their with big capital C and M. But I think if you
copy. Oh, this another.
I think Mama was with one M. But can you
Not
wrong channel?
Not here. Not here. Not here.
That would be pretty fun.
general.
We're just testing. No, you're on the wrong slide. You're not on the test slide.
I think also it's the API, the token, it's broken. It will not.
But the echo did work.
It worked before, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that the normal Slack bot?
If you
Can't you just copy one of the commands from which you scroll up?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that they are mapped somewhere.
Yeah,
If the
because
message
that's-
includes, there it is, there it is.
But
Yeah. And it looks like there's.
they already tested it before. They just need to scroll up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's just like one of the commands.
So copy paste sometimes works, really.
It's called coding.
Yeah. No.
Copy paste.
You're tagging Chris now. Yeah, joke bot.
Press enter.
Joe, you're gonna get so much spam.
Yeah, there is.
There you go.
Oh.
Can't watch the rain.
it's like
Cool.
Yes. Yeah, so technically this should work to be able. So the idea was to be able to.
I'm saying just go.
So let's say that we have something called event bot. Then you type event bot, and then you type Tuesday, the 1st of January, and then you type hangover coding or something like that, and then it creates an event in the calendar called hangover coding on the 1st of January.
Is that a thing? Hangover coding? It's fantastic.
Now it is. Now it is.
You could.
So
You
I
could take it.
have a question. So you create events and everything from the Slack, like from the.
Well, that's kind of like the vision to be able to do that.
Okay.
It's probably not something we're going to implement early on because I don't think it's a crucial feature. But it was just the idea was to research how we can use Slack bots to do something like that. And I mean, this shows that that's definitely something that's viable to try out. So that's really nice.
you could also make like the UI where some pre-made at the event bot and then you can have some custom input, right?
That's not how
Yeah, I think that's also
that way.
possible. That's also possible.
Yeah, I
right?
didn't really understand.
Oh, so you shouldn't. I mean, in the app itself, you could make some UI where you have some pre-made code like directed at event bot, and then some dynamic that you could fill in like event and then date.
Make it more.
But I mean, if you're going to our application,
Oh,
then you might as well create the event in the application.
Right.
So this was just the idea. If
Right.
you're having a chat on Slack and
Oh,
someone
yeah,
is like casually discussing, hey, maybe let's meet to do homework together,
Right.
and then someone is like, yeah, maybe let's make it public so everyone can come and join if they want, and then it's just a matter of typing a single line
Right.
in Slack, and then you have an event in the calendar that's promoted to everyone in the future. So
Makes sense.
cool.
Nice, guys.
Good work. Should we continue on? Or do you have something more to tell about Slack and Slackbots?
No.
Any more
Okay.
jokes?
So let's continue on.
Lots.
Mia, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm joining.
So don't quit the call before she joins.
Yeah, I don't know. I've already. I cannot. Yeah.
So you want the UI expert?
Okay, so but they are not simply so these are the events created by using the Reaper and so on.
Okay.
So that is the UI. Then we will be connecting it by using the API.
Oh, you need to get the app. Okay, everyone, if you're using Slack from the browser, you need to get the app. It doesn't work with screen sharing in the browser.
Why are you using? Why are you using Slack? from the browser.
Yeah.
Period. Why are you don't
Because I don't want to download app in my computer.
Oh, come on, but it's a slap.
I'm sorry, you have to do this.
Because you're a fan of tabs, you just want to have an extra slide there.
That's not real. You're welcome to delete it after. So can you maybe take over what she's done?
I also don't have to.
Do you have that?
How to
But I
join,
can
but
present something.
You can't? Or
I can.
you can?
The task was to explore.
Yeah.
So
how to join the
Oh, so you don't need to
Desktop.
screen share or?
I can, but
So-
I can't explain. But I don't. The task was to explore, not to make something.
Yeah, the idea was everyone should be making
Oh,
something.
seems
But,
like-
but just show us what you have.
it's now screen. Someone else is screen sharing. Wait,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Okay,
You're
so
in?
so if I
From the web?
Yeah.
What?
You didn't have to download?
Maybe it's your privacy
Different
setting.
browser? No, it's Chrome.
Yeah,
Originally
mine is
it's gonna-
Chrome.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I
I'm actually
But no, so I think you're just watching the screen. You're not
yeah,
sharing.
you have to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And then,
And then-
yeah, that button's grayed out. Yeah, sorry,
fucking
same
shit.
part. Okay.
Sorry,
Can you show us
there's-
this?
There's people watching.
I can just explain.
Yeah. But you're
Yeah,
not showing
yeah,
it here.
I hate this.
I can show you
I hate
what
to
to-
download
Yeah,
extra.
we
I
just
will
want to
just
see it out there.
set to use it later.
أنا كل ما الثقافة
Just
أصلاً
pause.
عادي.
And join.
I
Yeah,
also
so
don't
what
like
happens next?
apps. Because
And join the
also
Pollutes
nearby.
my, pollutes my event.
Come on, they should have made a PWA.
Okay, and now probably you can turn off the this one. No, it's you. Aqua, you can exit the call. Turn off the speakers as well. Where's anyone? Are you connected?
I leave this.
Everyone who's on the call, leave. So are you on the call? That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so press on the white mic.
And now
White microphone.
Amir is on the call as well.
I was out. Don't blame me.
Tryk på mikrofonen. Den er hvid.
Yeah, actually, she just needs to do one thing.
Where are you keeping those?
She was like muted.
Oh damn! So I think I left the entire call.
Oh.
That was what I didn't want. Okay, but now at least
What space
it's
is that?
So
now it's
basically
now it's cleared out.
you just went the polls.
And then
Sorry for anyone watching the screen sharing or the video.
So I downloaded.
Oh man.
this gets fired.
With this guy smoking a cigarette.
So you check the user.
it was something that we were struggling with
And then
calling each other.
component we found, post request there. Oh, dude, I thought it was impossible.
try to join
I thought it was impossible. It was actually, was actually very simple.
I
I
was struggling
was
how
stuck in there.
and also thought it probably the best idea to post request so you don't get anything in the what's called.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter unless you want to post like as a login from a guy.
I was starting to, to think that since
Okay,
for
it's
examples, tutorials, so on that I was finding that they were using EGS, you know, as a view engine.
Sorry, what?
So I thought that it was quite hard, you know, to get it
Okay,
out. They
I
use a
have my desktop now.
Let's have a look at it after.
Yeah.
I have a desktop now. So
Cool.
Yeah, so you will be next.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Zishan, the problem with mine. If you want, I make it mute or
I think it's all right now.
It's not completely as I wanted to be.
Why you try that?
Yeah, we can start.
Yeah, my task was to explore how to, the task was to explore how to export an event from the app to the calendar. So, but the events are, how the events are generated. They are generated by using the recurrence rule. For example, it can be weekly, monthly, daily, or hourly. For example, if you are creating an event on the basis of monthly event, once a week, month or twice a month, so you can generate event 4 days or 5 days. So it will tell you after how many days or when you want to finish the event, and it will create a rule based on the recurrence rule. And the task was we have to find how we will be able to export that event from the app to your own Google Calendar. So I found some ways how to do it. One was to add the CSV file, but we will not be using this. We will be using the Google app, Google Calendar API, and we will be using CalDev integration method by using Node.js. I haven't implemented it, but I have found the way. We will be doing this thing.
Okay, so why? So you mentioned we can export a CSV file.
Yeah. We can, but it was one of the way. But we will not be doing this.
Yeah.
We will be using the Google API.
Okay, I just want to know what are the limitations of doing it by exporting a CSV file?
Because you need to. I found it. People were using third-party API for generating the CSV file, or for example, Excel file. So we will not be using that. We will be creating events by using the recurrence rule.
Yeah.
What I have found. So that would be feasible for the Google API to interact by using the Node.js.
Yeah. I mean, this is completely what I expected, that we would need to hook up to the Google API. I just want to know...
Because the hint was given by using the CalDev integration.
Yeah.
That was the way, the best way to integrate.
Did you look into whether we can whether we can set up some sort of CalDev without using Google API? Because CalDev is a protocol, as I understand it, and I suppose you should be able to set up your own server to run this rather than run it through a Google API. I don't know if that's something you explored.
I explored, but there were some third-party APIs also. But I think this one will be the best.
Okay. Yep.
We'll start from this.
Like you mean that CalDev, Google API, and something more you needed, or what does it mean? Like the third-party API that you are talking about. What is that? You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I understand, but we will be using the Google API.
Yeah.
Not the third-party APIs.
I just want to know why. That's like the main question here. So what are the limitations of doing one thing versus another thing?
Because since we haven't tried it to connect by using the Node.js, so we don't know what can happen. This is the preliminary investigation.
Yeah.
This is the best approach that will be followed.
Okay. Yeah, but because that kind of like, for me, that raises a question. So if you say it's because we haven't tried it, then I'm kind of like, okay, so maybe we should do another research sprint where we try to do it, like to explore it further. Because I mean, did you think about? I mean, you say Google Calendar is the best way to go.
Just REST API.
Yeah. So did you think about some drawbacks of going with that?
We need to try it so that then we can find what are the drawbacks.
Okay. Yeah. And you didn't really build a prototype of this. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry if you didn't understand that, but the idea with these sprints was that everyone should try to build a little prototype of these things. Because if you don't really have a prototype, then it means that the research gets a little bit superficial. It kind of gets like, I read something about someone who said we should do this, but that might not apply to our specific situation. So that's why it's always really important to try to build something.
Explore, not to implement.
Okay, in that case, it's a misunderstanding.
So I
because what
many ways to do it.
From my perspective, exploring is building a prototype. But maybe that was not clear enough.
Okay, I just want to say that I don't know how it is exactly in this case, but for instance, also for OAuth, in order to build a prototype, you need to make the whole stack, and that's a little annoying. I don't know exactly how it's in this case. But that's something also to consider. When you are dealing also with the databases and so on, there are so many things that can fail. I was struggling for like one day with something that was not remotely connected to the OAuth itself.
Yeah, but idea is, it's something that, for example, if you have a goal and if you need something to do in the background, that's also part of the research actually. I know that this is something, for example, someone is doing a 1 hour task, but for your case, probably that's 5 hour task.
Yeah.
But well, that's how we research.
No. Sure. I'm just saying that sometimes it can be a little bit harder.
Definitely. And I know this one is one of the harder ones, and I know that OAuth is definitely also a pretty hard one, and we just don't have tasks that are the same size for everyone.
When you search, there are a lot of hits, but you don't know what kind of calendar you will be using in your app. It's based on the calendar, the type of rules, and the kinds of events you are generating into the application.
Yeah.
Then the second step is to integrate it by using the feasible or the best method, which can be.
Okay, but anyhow, let's not discuss so much about like the prototype. I just want to dig a little more into what you discovered. What did you learn about CalDAV?
It is a way to integrate the calendars, by using, and you can integrate the events into your own calendar, like iCal or the Google Calendar.
Okay, good. And is it dynamically updated?
Yes, it can be.
Okay, and you were talking about...
One can choose one event, one can choose more than one event, or if somebody alters the event, it will be dynamically updated into your calendar.
Yeah. And the solution you were talking about where you could export a CSV file, would that be dynamically updated as well?
That was another way, but this will, I don't know what file they will use. But the CSV file was another way. They were integrating the Excel file into the calendar file by using CSV.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Because I would imagine that one is just a static implementation where you don't get updates from the server, but maybe what they are exporting is actually some sort of link to a server, and then you can set up your own CalDAV server, because that's actually something I was hoping to learn more about, whether we could set up our own CalDAV server. Because some of the things that I'm thinking about when we talk about like the Google Calendar API is that what if the API changes, for instance? What if we run into a wall where we figure out we really need this, and then the API doesn't supply that to us? In that case, we might need to set up something ourselves. And what is this something we might need to set up? I'm pretty sure that the Google Calendar API will suffice for now, but I kind of I'd like to know what are like the limitations. Like, how far can we get? Do we expect to run into a wall? Because it's a pretty big commitment once all of us start like doing that implementation, and then we realize, oh, we only managed to get like 90% of the way, and the last 10% are like really critical for the application to be really functional.
But there are any other calendar options that are like popular? I don't know any besides Google Calendar.
Because we are talking about calendar, and I did my presentation because my task was about the calendar. So you are already almost finishing up with the calendar.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know there is some overlap. So maybe it makes sense if we just continue on with what you found out.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Can we switch the call smoothly?
What is that?
It's Class06.
Just go up. Just go up to 6.
And did you turn off the speakers?
I need to do that.
The speaker I need to do the speakers. Okay.
But that was actually on purpose that I made sure there was some overlap between your research, because I wanted you to kind of like approach it from different angles.
Yeah, so I will talk about the limitation that I found out first. First of all, if we are going to use Google Calendar, then what about the iOS user?
Okay. Is that a problem?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know how, but like, how does iPhone integrate Google service?
Well, I have iOS, and I just type in my Google account, and it synchronizes all my calendars.
So you need to, so you mean like you just use it like the app itself?
No, well, if it's in my Google Calendar, so I can go into calendars.google.com and see my calendar.
Yeah.
I can see it on my phone as well.
But then, how do you get the push notification?
In my calendar, like normal.
Okay, this part I didn't know because I'm not a iOS user. But
cool.
anyways, and then second thing is like among all their prod, there's no way that you can find some events or like anything that is within a time range. So basically, what you can do is that their prod is basically based on their own, like if it's get method, it's based on their own like ID. It can be like calendar ID or event ID, but there's no way that you can search in a time range. So
if you want to get all events from January 2019,
that would be difficult. Then you need to. I mean, you can just get all the events and then filter.
Okay.
In your backend, but you cannot like just directly get that part.
That's a little bit shocking.
Yeah. Is it in Google API you are talking about?
Yeah. Calendar API. For example, like you can what you can do is that you just get your like the calendar list, and then you can filter out with among these data you get.
Yeah.
But you cannot just say I want to get a certain kind of like certain range. The parameter is only limited to their own ID.
Okay. Yeah. So there's actually something here that I wanted to have answered, and that is whether we could use Google Calendar as our backend for everything calendar related, or whether we would need to kind of like replicate all the events in our own database. And this highly suggests that we need to do it locally and then store with each event locally. We store the Google Calendar ID.
No.
No?
Yeah, that's the limitation, but doesn't mean that we cannot do it, because like I said, we can just use a filter function to get everything.
Yeah, sure, but I mean it will be much more efficient to have it locally then.
Yeah, but if you just get all data, then it will be not good practice. Like if you're talking about like January 2nd week or whatever, but then if you would like to get all data and those are useless at some point after filtering, then that will be the limitation, like I said.
Yeah.
But what you can do with it is like, for example, we can for every class we will have a calendar.
Yeah.
And then we just basically through the oath we insert we basically just invite every, like for example the class 8 invite everyone to that calendar, and they will have it on their calendar.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So basically like this, I have 2 tests. This one and then this one. And then one of my research protocol is that I try to answer whether it's feasible to, it's the third one. Determine whether a user has accepted the calendar invite. They don't need to accept, because we basically just insert it to their calendar list. And but what we can do is to check if that calendar is selected by that user. Because if I don't select this one, it will be gone.
Yeah, okay, but that's not really relevant. So maybe I should explain a little more what I'm thinking about. Because for the students, I don't really care if they accept the calendar invitees. They're supposed to come for every class, in any case. But the idea that I had was for the mentor assignment view that we saw earlier today. So the idea is that whenever Christopher is trying to assign mentors to different classes, he can go and he can see which mentors have the skills needed. Do they have some vacation time or something registered that I should avoid? And then he can go and say assign. And when he says assign, what will happen is that it sends a calendar invite. If he's assigning me to a class, it will send me a calendar invite. And then I have to accept that calendar invite that I'm going to teach that class before the status in the application will update, so it says like confirmed.
Yeah.
But I think it's 2 different things, because what you're doing is you're just like inserting events directly to the calendar, and I think there's some other sort of protocol to do like event invites. Okay, yeah, sure.
So to answer your question, basically we can the mentors calendar can set the, for example, Christopher or any admin as a viewer. They don't need to see the event detail, but Christopher is able to see the busy or free, like kind of status, and we can just fetch this status and then see if the mentor can be available during some certain period.
Yeah.
Or just see when he's not available.
Yeah.
And then in that case we can just add him as a organizer to an event, to a recurring event as for the class. So a calendar can including just all the recurring events. That is, for example, JavaScript 1. It recurs for like 5 weeks, and then just add him to that event as the organizer. And then how we check if one class has a mentor or not, we just check if that event has organizer or not. So, what is the second question? Sorry.
I was just thinking about this when you said send an invitee. I think that differs from a calendar event. Okay. Like I think it's kind of like meeting versus event or something like that. Because I know, like, if I go and create an event in my calendar and invite someone by email, they will have to accept that one. But if I just go into a shared calendar and create an event, it will just pop up in the calendar.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, we should use different calendar for different like nature of events. So for the classes, they should be just their like standalone calendar. Like there's no like really event. There will only be the recurring events that you can see. You don't need to join events. Yeah. But we can have another calendar or another two or whatever. Like for example, alumni events, and those ones will have a calendar. Will have calendar events that is included in this calendar, and then we just show these events onto our app, which is the mockup. We can show it there, and then including the link that you can click, and then when you click, it's actually an import.
Yep.
Which is also included in Google Calendars, Google Calendar API. This one. So basically, we can post this link onto that button. Then when you click, it's basically adding into your local calendar.
Yeah, and it's adding that entire calendar into my calendar. Only that event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's you can look at this endpoint is calendars.
Yeah, and then it says events.
ID/events.
Yeah.
So I think that's how we can do this import part.
Do you know if it's possible to do it with a series of events?
Series? What do you mean by series?
So so the idea is that I want to import all the events from JavaScript from this JavaScript 2 module. So that would be 3 events, 3 weeks.
That's recurring. That's one event.
Oh.
That's one event. You will have only one event, like recurring ID.
Yes.
So you don't need to do multiple things.
But the idea originally comes from Jackie, for example, Christopher find someone is available on that. So create an event, and that at some point it will be a recurring event. And in your point, like JavaScript 1 has 3 weeks, so it will create one event. And then it's recurring rest of the 2 weeks.
Basically set up like the start time and end time, that's for that day, and then how many times it recurs.
Yeah, I understand. But my question is actually, should I decline also? Like for example, Christopher sent a request to me or someone else. Can I decline that?
You can.
Yeah,
and the status is confirmed, tentative, or like declined, like rejected. So yes, it is possible also.
And there's something interesting here as well, because if it's a recurring event, I want to be able to decline only one of them rather than the recurring series.
That would be a limitation.
Yeah,
you can. There's only one event. That's not like.
But I'm not sure that happens, because when I get invitees like that, for instance at work, like the Scrum meetings or something like that, I can decline one of the meetings, and that works. But I don't know if we have to do some further implementation of that. But that's maybe something we can research a little bit further. Because if we just have a quick look at my updated UI for assigning mentors.
Nico.
I don't know if it's this one or the other one. That's not the one. Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't shown it to all of you. I just wanted to get some feedback on it from the guys doing the React component thing first. But what I changed was that this was the add edit module before, where you could like do all kind of stuff with mentors. Now I changed it so you have to say edit assignment and then you get a separate view. That means that we have this one here where we set the dates. That one is separated into one view. So if we had everything in one view altogether, we would have to update all the dates over here depending on when you change this one, right? So maybe I need to zoom in more. So this is the part, so now I just split it out. So we have one step here where we set the dates of the event, and we can like, yeah, basically just set the dates of the event because the description comes from GitHub. But we set when is the event going to take place. And then down here we can see if there are any mentors assigned, and we can edit the assignment. And when we edit the assignment, we get to a new window. So that means when we are in this window where we're assigning mentors, the dates are already locked down. We're not going to have the dates changing while we're doing all this stuff, because I think that would add a lot of complexity, and it also kind of like makes the UI more difficult to use. So that was the main change that I did. But you can see also here I introduced something that was not, I wanted that to be possible before, but it's just not clear from the UI. What I want is the ability for a mentor to say, yeah, I can teach the second week of JavaScript module 2, but I cannot teach the third week because I'm visiting my family or whatever, something like that. So you go in on a date-by-date basis and confirm that you can do these things. But I mean, we'll have to think about, I mean, like we haven't scoped this project yet. I'm sure we cannot build everything here. And that's some of the things that we need to do after lunch today. We need to talk a lot about how much do we actually think we can manage, and which order are we going to do all these things, because I think there's a lot of complexity down in the details in terms of like, especially this window here. Yeah. But I mean, if we could like hand off some of that functionality to just like being the accept decline function in Google, and being able to read that, I think maybe we will be able to do it. But otherwise, the other solution is that we have to do this locally in our own application, and maybe that's all right as well. I don't know yet, but that's something we need to think about, whether how far we want to go. And it's probably not the first thing we're going to do. In the beginning, it's probably something about you accept the entire module, decline the entire module, or maybe you don't accept or decline at all. Maybe it's just like 3 mentors listed, and then the mentors internally have to figure out, yeah, I can't be there on the first time, but you'll take over the second time or something like that. Yeah, that's all details we have to figure out. But it would be awesome if we can get this kind of data out of Google. So let's try to research that a little bit further. I exposed your screen again, sorry.
Oh. What was that? I forgot what was that?
Well, I have a question. For example, I want to understand one thing, that once the event has been exported to the iCal or Google Calendar, and if somebody made changes in own calendar, will it be updated dynamically also?
Depends on his access rights.
Yeah.
So you can give him like reader access, writer access, owner access.
We definitely don't want the students to drag and drop the classes. Yeah, I don't want to come to class Sunday. Let's make it Monday instead.
So only Christopher can do this from his own calendar.
That's a plan.
Administrator.
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so did you do some sort of prototype, anything?
Yes, on my own calendar. Actually, basically, so I just added like this. Well, I added this calendar to myself, and then this is
Jackie was talking about any project or something similar.
No.
That you were meaning?
Actually,
I just asked her to try to make something where we can write to a calendar, read from a calendar, and then there was the last stuff there. What was it about the invitees that we already discussed? But reading and writing to the calendar from an API, can we do that?
Yeah.
Did you try it out?
Yeah, I tried it out. Actually, I just read my own calendar. The good thing about Google API is that like they have a playground, which you can. Which you can just basically, without oath, without the real oath, because it's super like complicated.
Yeah.
I just authorize.
So you just use your Google login now, I suppose, to log on to this page.
Yeah.
And then you have all the authentication rights, and then you can access your calendar.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then you can just choose like all the endpoints basically are here, so you can just do like whatever like you really are interested. So because I'm not going to check anyone else's calendar, so I'm going to say primary, which is my own calendar. And then here you.
That's how you called your calendar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually calendar.
Are you sure the ID is the name or?
The ID is actually Google uses your Gmail account or whatever your email account as your ID.
Yeah.
So
but
here,
I'm talking about this ID, calendar ID.
Yes.
Okay.
Where's my calendar? Where are my calendars? Okay, read.
Oh, you're using the notepad.
What? Calendar ID. Yeah. Calendars, primary, events. Events. Go. So in the events, I can get everything. And here, if I skip the event ID, you will get the whole list.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
so those are
required.
Those are the events I have.
But can you just copy one event ID and put it there and let's see? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you search for a second?
Yeah, just copy it and just paste it there.
It has e-tags as well.
Should it filter?
Okay, so this is one event I have, and you can see that organizer is myself. But like here, you can just put one mentor's email as the organizer. Then you will know if there is organizer or not.
Can you scroll down a little bit? I just want to see what else there is of data in here.
So you can put creator as administrator and
yeah. So creator will always be the
organizer as mentors.
Yeah.
And then you have start and end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then scroll a little bit up.
Yeah. There wasn't anything very interesting down there.
Creator, organizer, start and end.
Yeah, self-true. So this self probably can be like the way you check on if mentor is added.
I think self is whether you just added it to your own calendar yourself.
Really?
That's what I imagine. And then maybe if someone invites you, that one is false. And then the question is whether there will be a bigger object in there with some more data.
Did you try making another account and making
I just write to my own calendar.
Yeah. Can I real quick invite you to something bogus, and then we can try that one out? Yeah, I have like all kind of fun stuff in here. Early in the morning. And in Mighties. What was your email?
ZOEYZOU 2018 continue the account.
You have just created.
Yeah. When I arrive at Denmark.
I don't know how long it takes.
So it's still in the cloud. Let's see how fast.
Let me see my phone.
And you are using iCal.
Yeah, and that works fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm using. I have my Google Calendar imported. Yes, I have my Google Calendar imported into iCal, so it's communicating with Google, and that's also why it works on my phone. So,
okay.
It's not a big problem.
but it does require a Google account. But I mean, I think that's a reasonable requirement because it's not like you cannot. Yeah, that's a question in terms of the authentication. Maybe talk a little more about that later. But you probably need to have a Google account to import it into your own personal calendars. But I think we should make it possible to use this application without having a Google account at all. But let's discuss that later. Yeah. So can you see if you can find that event in the API?
Let me see how to.
So
just
probably
get everything.
Yeah, again, get everything again, right? Unless you could see the ID somehow in the invite.
I probably can't.
Should come first.
Didn't she
just search for Hey Zoe?
Yeah, just Control F.
Yeah, but shouldn't she accept it first?
I don't know.
You underestimate how many events I have.
Yeah, you got it.
You got it. That's up.
One more up. There.
Yeah.
So what?
Hey Zoe, what are you talking about?
Search for Saturday.
There it is.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, okay.
So I just copy this ID.
But it says
yeah, we have. I think we have everything here, so you don't need to look it up again.
Well, first of all, this is odd. It says confirm, but you didn't click the confirm button yet.
I didn't.
You did not?
No.
She did not.
Because it says response status accepted as well?
Yeah.
Or is it because I accepted it? I think I implicitly accepted it by sending an
But
invite.
later on, it said response status need
Look at
action.
Yeah, that's your. Exactly.
I'm like needs action.
Ah,
Yours
yeah.
is
That's a great.
That's awesome. So can you real quick, can you take a screenshot of this?
Okay.
Before taking this screenshot, just remove the hey, so it will be nice.
Remove what?
Just remove the control F option.
Oh.
That's matter. Yeah.
I just want to have like a rough overview of what kind of data we have in here whenever you do that. Because this suggests that we can do something with that response actions thing, and we can, yeah. That's really interesting.
Okay, cool.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
So it means that we have plenty of options.
Yeah.
So.
And what about the HTML link? Is
This
that public? Yeah. It shouldn't be public.
Yeah, I don't suppose it is. Can you try to
Yeah,
open
it
that?
just pop up.
Yeah. Try to
And I
take the
still
same.
have, like, no.
Try to take the same link and open it in an incognito browser window.
Okay.
I'll take the one from.
Yeah, probably the one directly from the API.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you need to sign in actually.
Yeah, and that was what I expected. But no, don't do that. Try to take the link directly from the API just to make sure it was the same. And then throw that into a incognito.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. Right click it. You got more than you wanted.
It's better than less. Okay, so what?
Yeah, just throw it in a text editor and remove the last stuff.
No, that.
Oh, yeah.
I guess you can do that as well.
At the beginning?
I think you had something in the beginning as well, yeah.
Really?
I think you figure out to remove it. Okay, but that's expected behavior. We just want to make sure that it's not like everyone can go and watch your calendar. So that's cool. Excellent. Great.
So.
Yep.
Nice.
So you still needed to log on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want that.
regarding the job that you were working with, the event, does like it seems
export.
Oh, you have only the export one. Okay.
Yeah. How to export?
Yeah, can we see the export in the sandbox? How that works?
Yeah. Like the import.
Yeah.
So it means that you have some options to export first, then you can import.
Yeah, you need to have at least you need to set up like the whole calendar and then just put this link. I think just put this link to the button. It will work.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how to. Oh, we have a calendar. I need a calendar ID.
Yeah.
And you can test the API.
But I'm not so interested in the import part. I was more interested in the export part.
Yeah.
Whether it gives us a file or what happens.
There is no export option.
There's no.
It's only import.
So it is something only based on the URL then.
But then so we need to get the calendar ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can send a post request, and then I will import that calendar ID into that person
so that is
who
our
signed in.
That is our
so
data.
It's kind of an export.
Yeah.
Yeah. But kind of what I expected, because if you're working with Google Calendar and we press the export button, I don't expect us to get a file locally. I expect us to be sent directly to Google Calendar and see the calendar there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that
so
that's
the URL
actually
is kind of the
export is actually import. Maybe we should think about that in the UI, whether it's like, I think there's something wrong there, but we'll make sure the UI works for that. Cool. Great. I think I've seen what I want. Anything else? Any questions?
Okay, I think you should like let her explain that because it's like quite related. And
exactly, I think there's quite a bit of overlap. You have the app now?
Yeah.
Great.
So,
did you leave the call?
Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
It works.
I'll just start from the UI and the things that I have found in my research.
And maybe just really quickly, just explain what Google Classroom is.
Okay. So I've got this Google Classroom API is where you can manage the classes by teacher and the student. Like students can't manage the courses, but they can join the class and then attend the class.
Okay, but what is this product designed for? What did Google set out to build?
This is for more educational purpose.
Mm-hmm.
For the education, like for to work smoothly between the teacher and student, so that the teachers can hand out assignments to the student, and then they can submit their homeworks to teachers. And also like there's guardians. Also they can have they can also be integrated into this app. And this is how the Google Classroom API works. And and it's basically for the university and for the high schools where the school as an organization, they have this Google Suite education program where they can register them as an administrator, and the whole university or some schools they can register as a teacher and the students. So they can there's a list of students, there's a list of teachers, and there's the courses and the classes that they teach, and they can assign to the students. So that's basically the Google Classroom API.
So
did I? Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you're a teacher and we are the students, and you put something up, that means that you're putting it up for all the students to see.
Yes, that belongs to the particular class. For example, our class is Class 06. So I'm a teacher of Class 06, and if I give some assignment to the student of Class 06, then the assignment will be handed to that particular class.
Okay. So if everyone hands in, they hands in directly to you, but not to each other.
No, it's basically when you give an assignment to the students, and when they hand out the assignments in Google Classroom API, then the homeworks that is assigned to the students, that then it will be shown to the teacher, like who is responsible for that classroom. Yeah.
But I mean, we have a great need for administering assignments here, but it's totally not the scope of this project. So why are we looking at this?
Like, as much as I understood of the nature of this problem, like for example, it's much more easier for an organization, for an educational organization, where they can manage the teacher and the students, and how smoothly it's going, how they can manipulate, or they can assign the teachers and the students for the educational organization over there. And that's
so we basically have a lot of the same constructs that we need here. So you can create students, you can create mentors, you can create administrators, you can assign students to classes, you can assign mentors to classes, and all of that stuff you can pull out through an API. So my great hope was also to have some sort of calendar integration, and I already noticed there were some limitations there because everything in the calendar is related to homework. So that was kind of one of the big things I wanted you to figure out is this feasible for what we're doing? So
I listed down each and every questions that I had to fulfill. Like, for example, here, we must learn whether the data stored about teacher is sufficient to support the UI. So according to the UI, that's over here. Okay, you need the teacher's info, and there's a classes. There's a classes, and there's a list of class, and there's the calendar. So this is up to much. Like this is, and then add a module, where you are able to add the classes. That's basically about the teacher, like a mentor view, where the teacher is. That's how teacher is a name that is given in Google Classroom API, but we consider it as a mentor. So here, we need to have a name of the teacher and the whole profile of the teacher. And basically looking at the UI and the API call, it's possible to get the data of the teacher. Like, for example, there's a course ID, there's a user ID, and the whole profile. There's ID, and there's the profile ID, name, and the full name. Who is this mentor? The name, full name, and then there's an address and photo. So the permission is you are allowed to create a course. So that's basically the first requirement we had with our API, and this is the GET request, and there's a documentation. I can just over here. This is basically this is a documentation where it shows what you can do with the teachers teachers API call. It's possible for the number one question, and number two is also get the information, get the data about the students. So it's almost the same.
You didn't find anything that we need that we cannot store in Google Classroom so far?
I find
for the students and teachers.
Not exactly. I think it's.
So everything is fitting to fine.
Yeah, the data that needs to be stored about the student and the teacher, it's absolutely it absolutely works with Google Course API. I think that's one of the benefit. I think one of the advantages of using it, so that students are allowed to join by the teacher. So teachers would send them the invite, or there's a classroom ID that they can send to the teacher, send to the students. So the students, they take that ID and then they can join the class.
Sorry guys, I'm a little bit lost in here. The idea is to interact directly from our UI with Google Classroom, so it's just to have it as a kind of model.
So so the idea here is that if we can sort of use Google Classroom as a backend, for creating teachers and creating classes and students and so on, then we have some mechanics in there where it can easily send out an email to students telling them, yeah, hey, congratulations, you've been invited to this class and stuff like that. There are some nice functionality there. Also, that would mean that Christopher could go straight into the Google interface and change a lot of the administrative things in there in an interface that's like probably more mature than what we can build, and we can save some time on not having to build that. But the question is, since it's a product that's basically designed for something else, the question is whether we would trap ourselves in a corner if we do that.
That's basically the idea of like instead of building the whole system by yourself, you just integrate to the Google API, like it is already there, like the classroom is already there, that has some functionality that we need. So that's and the other idea is like how we can whether the need of UI matches with the Google Classroom API or not, and how easy is it to interact with the Google Classroom API. That's
very clear and has a lot of sense.
But as you mentioned that it's only available where this Google Classroom suites are available. Like, if I understand correctly, can anyone use this API?
Not exactly. Just no. It's you need to have a Google account. You need to be signed with the Google Classroom. So you need to sign in. You have to sign up for the Google Classroom.
And what does it mean?
It means like for example, you cannot use Google Classroom API without Google account, for example.
Okay, but if I got it wrong, the only one that actually needs to have, a Google Classroom account is going to be Christopher. I mean, you can create students without the student.
Yeah, I think the students need to have Google accounts as well, right?
If you want to use the calendar feature of the API, you need
for example, like in order to integrate with like Google API, like whatever API.
But I also think that if he sends an invitee to a student, I'm not sure, I'm just saying what I think. If he sends an invite to a student and it says, yeah, congratulations, you've been invited to this class, and then they press, then it'll send them to the Google application to finish that sign up, and it will tell them, oh, you don't have a Google account yet. Please create one.
Sign up or like something like that. Yeah, so it's.
Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it would be like that. But Google Classroom itself is free, if I understand it correctly. But then you told me that there was something where we need Google Apps, and that was to create the organization, or what?
Yeah, it's because I tried it both from. I created account as a student.
Yeah.
I created account as a teacher, and then I tried to create an account as an organization. But then like before it was free to create an organization email or something to set up organization in Google Suite. But now it's not free, like you have to pay like $5 something like that a month.
And that's for the Google Apps subscription, right?
It's for the Google Suite education. They have this particular package only for the universities or the schools. So it's a Google Education Suite, it's called.
Okay.
So you need to have that account in order to like have fully exposed to like what a Google Classroom API can do. Like
full, And did you manage to figure out whether we have that? Like Christopher wrote that we.
Yeah, Christopher wrote that, and then I sort of replied him back, but he didn't.
Okay, I didn't see what you wrote, but.
Yeah, but I told him like, of course I want to have the account, then I can do something, I can test it, I can
Okay, but you didn't have the chance to try it out yet.
No, I haven't, but I would love to do it. But also the other thing is Google Classroom API uses OAuth too. So every time I make a call, I have to be authorized every time. And there's the authorization, like it creates the token, and it refreshes every time. Yeah. So every time like I get security alert in my.
But that must be the same case for the calendar, right?
Yeah. So that's basically, I think that's the limitation as well. I would say, like, I have the last question was here. Will Google Classroom impose restriction on how we authenticate the user?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Like, it really does. And also the calendar UI, I cannot see the calendar UI that's we need in our.
Can you show us how it works in Google Classroom?
Yeah, over here, like it's a course over here, courses, and there's a calendar, and it's absolutely fine when you go on the browser app. But then when you do the form, like this is, yeah, I have already. It's a little bit difficult to see, but then you can only have a calendar ID. There's like, I don't know.
Okay, again, you need to have the calendar ID. Okay, so that should be the entire calendar. Yeah.
Is it what is it? Is that calendar ID or?
Yeah, this is a calendar ID.
Is that the calendar ID that?
So
the other one is there something similar? I don't know. Like if you have an event ID
basically what you see, look at the ID. It's an email.
Yeah.
Because the calendar ID, like you actually use in calendar, is also just the email.
Okay.
Okay.
So classroom.
So you can send an email to that weird long thing, and invite that, and then it's put in the calendar.
Weird thing.
Like the hash one that.
This is just
that hash one is the classroom's email.
Yeah.
And ID.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the classroom.
But what I was thinking more about is the stuff that you can put in here. You agree this is only homework assignment, right? You don't have really a way to build a class schedule in here?
You're thinking if we send an invitation to the classroom.
That's not what I'm asking about now, but yeah, I mean, the email there, yeah, I think you can send invitees to that email and then it will be popped into that calendar.
Yeah, you can see the overview and see the response body.
So this is just for the course, like the class.
All right.
Yeah, this is the course, like course. Yeah.
So what was the question again?
The question was whether we can put anything else than homework in the calendar.
Of course.
I haven't really tested with that because I cannot do anything with the calendar.
Yeah, I tried it. I tried it out quickly, and what I found was that I think you need to go to the upper right corner here, to the calendar icon out there. No, that's just today. There's somewhere you can add stuff. Maybe it's because you're a student now. Who are you signed in as?
What do you mean something besides?
No, I know. Yeah, up here in the top, classwork.
Yeah.
And create.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but there now we just jump to the calendar. But if you press create in the left side, and here are the kind of material, the things you can put in the calendar.
Topic.
This one doesn't even have like calendars. I think material is wrong. I think you need to take one of the other ones.
No. Classwork.
Yeah.
Stick with classwork and
create again.
Assignment.
Yeah, I think so. Here's a due date.
Exactly. That's the one. And I think it's only the due dates we can get in the calendar. And that's a little bit weird. So I think we need, if we're doing this, we need a parallel implementation of the Google Calendar to have like all the course schedules. And then this is only providing us with like the infrastructure for mentors and students and classes, how to bridge that together, who's assigned to what and stuff like that.
I don't know. I was just testing with these classes, and I could. I was able to make like a submit date, and then the deadline of the assignment.
Yeah, but that's for assignments still.
Yeah.
It's not like what we really need is just like a recurring thing where we have to like this event goes 3 weeks. And then we have another event that goes another 3 weeks, and put them into different calendars, all of them.
I think there's hardly like you can really manipulate the calendar from the Google Classroom API, I guess.
Using what?
Google, in Google Classroom API, it's there's a limitations on how you can manipulate the calendar.
That's what I'm thinking. So we need to talk directly to the calendar API rather. Yeah.
Either you have to integrate it in there.
And maybe, I think this is just a regular Google Calendar, so we could probably use the Google Calendar API to put other stuff into the calendar here and see it in the calendar there. But it doesn't really matter because we're not so interested in seeing the calendar view here. We're interested in seeing the calendar view in our application. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused about how like the first time was, because this is my first time like playing with Google APIs, and I thought that it would be much more easier like to just have an API key and then just get the data, but it doesn't work like that.
The authentication was a stumbling block.
Yeah, I was trying to like, oh my god, it made me so.
Yeah, I was expecting that, but.
So this is like a little bit of a small demo, I think, and I just managed to get some. I didn't create the server with the Node.js because then I have to set up the whole backend system, and this is like a quick start from Google, like they give to just test the data.
Yep.
And
so it's just on the client, this stuff here?
Yeah, this is this is just an HTML where I can just
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is it runnable? Like the project that you are?
Yeah, it's working on the local host.
Yeah.
So
please show us.
Yeah, this is basically, and I just set up like a quick Ruby server, which is from here, and this is it gives the classroom, the class. Okay, this is sign out, and and then I have to authorize. And then the classroom and the classes that the teacher have created. So there's the name of the teacher. There's the there's the classroom.
Yeah, cool.
That's which teacher has created what classroom.
Right.
And the name of the teacher, like this.
Yeah.
And this is basically the to see like it just listing out. Yeah, it's just listing out the courses and the teacher. That's basically like, okay, how does this work in a quick and
cool.
short period of time. Yeah.
Awesome. Good work.
Nice.
Great. Any questions? No? Let's take a break and go for lunch.
Yeah.
And see you back at 2:35.
This is freaking licorice, and I asked, licorice?
Of course, man. Living in Denmark 101.